Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Safest Family on the Block, where knowledge is power. I'm your host, Jason, and joining me today is Brent Dusing. Hello, Brent.
Hi, how you doing, Jason?
I'm really excited to have you on. That's how I'm doing. And
Thanks.
I've been talking with your publicist for a while to get you on, and I'm really interested in your insights about some of the risks of having our kids online. Being online and online gaming in particular, they're immensely powerful, for good or for ill. And your work through your company and your game are trying to make it more good than ill. So let's start with just tell us a little bit about your project. What are you doing and why?
Yeah, so what we're building at TruPlay Games is an entertainment platform, multimedia entertainment platform for kids. It has a lot of mobile games on it, deep mobile games, like the top quality that you play on the top of the App Store, video content, digital comics, that's all content that's based on Christian values. So some of our content is explicitly content from the Bible. Others is a brand new universe that we've created, a new set of intellectual property called the Rimverse. The Rimverse is a world where one of our heroes is a little girl who's about 8 years old. She's a bunny rabbit that wears a tiger costume, who's very headstrong, and her name is Maple, and she goes out to try to make the world a better place. And one of her companions is a little boy named Lucas, who's about 9, 10 years old. He's a skunk that wears a crocodile robot costume that he made, that has all kinds of cool things that it can do. And they and their friends exist in this world where they're growing in their own journey in life, and they're also combating evil. And so what TruPlay is about is providing world-class, really fun, really entertaining, beautiful entertainment for families that contains Christian values and doesn't contain a lot of the toxic content that kids are getting exposed to today.
Yeah. And for example, it kind of constitutes not just what qualifies or constitutes toxic content, but I know that you have some statistics about that as well. So can you share with us some of the big harms that are happening to kids who are getting online, even in platforms that appear fairly benign?
Yeah, absolutely. So a few statistics that really appalled me and really kind of motivated me to do what we're doing. So the one of the most alarming statistics, and a lot of people know this, but still a lot of people don't. Anxiety, suicide, and depression rates are at all-time highs for children in America, all-time highs. And that statistic was true before COVID. It actually mirrors the rise of social media on smartphones. And as we all know, it particularly affects, young women, teenage girls. And that's a real public health crisis, actually. And, it's funny because as a society, we tend to say things like, well, if we just had more money, if we just spent more money on this thing, but that's not really the answer, because, it's really the values, the messages that people take on, the way they see their own value and who they are and their identity that winds up eroding away at their self-image. So anyway, that's the first stat. The second stat is the average male is exposed to pornography when he's 11 years old in this country. And 3-4 years ago, that was 13 years old. So it's getting worse. And obviously it also means, given that's an average number, there's a significant amount of boys who get exposed to this kind of stuff, 7, 8, 9 years old.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot of data.
And I think it's important to point out there also that this isn't finding your uncle's Playboy in the trash can when you were 13-year-old, which, various people have different attitudes, but it's relatively benign. It's almost a rite of passage as compared to what they can find even accidentally on the internet. It's an entirely different level of pornography.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's
when you and I were kids, it was that scenario, right? It was, somebody's uncle or some friend, some friend's dad had a subscription to a magazine. But that involved a lot of, I got to go to this guy's house and sneak around and find the thing late at night. What it means now is it's 10 seconds on a smartphone. It's right in the high-speed internet in your house. And the challenge is for many parents, even who content block and try to moderate what goes in their own house, inevitably your kid's on a school bus, or they're at school, or they're at a friend's house, and you just don't have that level of oversight. And so, and what's interesting about pornography, the Christian church has, I think, done a really good job standing against that for a long time, but there's actually a lot of secular data as well. That's and a lot of scientific data, looking at men's mental health, looking at men's physical health. tied to the effects of pornography that it has really started to become pretty prominent. In fact, there's a whole kind of anti-pornography movement that's driven by men that's happening on social media. Now, there's, of course, a large number of women who have been anti-pornography, both a conservative and liberals who have been against pornography for a long, long time, because of the exploitation of women and all those things. So it's been something that's been a known problem, but it continues to proliferate and continues to really, again, be another public health issue. Another thing is that you continue to see happening is this is a really interesting stat. So 62% of Americans over 40 years old believe in God, without a doubt, which is actually, for a first world country, quite high. But for children, people under 18, that number is about 32%. So there's this massive gap, right, in belief in God in our country between those age brackets. And there's a lot of reasons for that. A lot of it is the types of content and messaging that kids are consistently getting from just about every angle.
And even if we want to generalize the conversation now to households that aren't themselves Christian, the point is that internet access has given our kids unfettered access to worldviews, to philosophies, to religions, to models of how to treat people, of models how to treat yourself that harm them.
Yeah.
Whatever your family's definition of that harm is. And so your project is trying to create a platform where you can put them in an ecosystem that has less of that harm, and also hopefully foster conversations about those things.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned fostering conversations. So I was describing some of our characters. So Lucas, who's the boy I was describing, who's the skunk with the crocodile robot outfit, his story is that his brother died a year ago. And he's struggling with that right now. He's also he's an inventor. He's built his own crocodile robot suit, and he's going to get on a spaceship and go on a journey for various reasons I won't get into. But he's dealing with, in his own emotional growth, the loss of his brother, who was his best friend. There's another girl, one of my favorite stories in the Rimverse, named Ava. And Ava's parents are divorced. And she's having a hard time with it. And she has a hard time articulating, well, sometimes I live with my mom and sometimes I live with my dad. We have had a divorce, epidemic in our society since I think it's about the 70s is when that started. And the biggest victims of divorce were always children, right? And so Ava has a hard time articulating to her friends her living situation, her relationship with her stepmom isn't necessarily great. She's also getting bullied at school. And so she has to learn in her journey that, her identity is not who people tell her that she is, or that the world says that she is. Her identity is who God says she is. There's another character who who's adopted. And his name's Oliver. If you go to our website, he's in an animated short. He's a fox that wears a bear costume. And again, he's got his own journey that he's going on. And so now some of our characters like Maple, who's our tiger bunny, who's very, very headstrong, doesn't really care about other people's opinions, hasn't really necessarily gone through any trauma, but she has her own personality that's, always charging forward. And so there's a various amount of different characters who I think that everybody will be able to identify with at least one of them, because these are all things that all of us go through in life. And to your point, there are ways to see healthy growth and development inside those characters as they go along their journey, but also done in a really fun way. We don't preach, we don't explain, we just get you into the story. You play the games, you read the comics, you watch the videos, and you get taken into the story in the same way, like if you asked a Star Wars fan, they would tell you that, hey, actually, Jango Fett is Boba Fett's dad, but Boba was actually a clone, and Jango's actually not a Mandalorian. He just got his armor from somebody else. And they know all that stuff, not because they took a test or there was a multi-choice quiz, but because they're fans, they got involved in the story. And that's the way that we storytell.
And those stories offer hooks for people who are maybe dealing with some questions or issues themselves, or perhaps they have a friend they want to be able to help better who's going through something.
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's a lot of people, I know there's a lot of people in the world with questions, a lot of people in the world who are, in need of help or trying to cope. And what's sad is the way the social media environment works. It's not a very conducive environment to, for that kind of conversation. It's almost, too often it's kind of showing the best side of your face, if you will, right? In which you view everyone else as doing great in life and you are struggling or you are failing, when of course we all know that's not true. But when you're young, right, when you're a teenager and you're learning about social interpersonal dynamics anyway, I mean, that's really what teenagehood is about, right, is learning how the world works socially. It all gets distorted and twisted, right?
Yeah.
When you're living your life through social media and you actually need your process, you're working through things.
Well, that sounds like a really good tool. And again, also it's a tool where the children can be exposed to some ideas, and then the parents are there and you have parental access so you can know what's going on and have a wider conversation and steer it in a way that often you can't if your kids are just kind of free range on the internet.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jason. And what's really cool is we do a lot of testing with parents and children, and we find that our parents enjoy playing as well. So we'll have a kid test a game and the parents say, oh, let me come play. And we had other games we built previously before we did TruPlay that will be on this platform, Stained Glass, Journey of Jesus, Journey of Moses. We had over 7 million people play, and most of those players were actually adults. So we know there's a lot of family interest in the games and the content, and that's something that we think can also, it's one thing, Jason, as you were saying, to involve a conversation. It's another thing to be enjoying it as well. If you've ever played a video game with your kid or watched a movie you both enjoyed, it's such a different level of experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, I know you have a very busy day, so we're already running close to our out time. So I wanted to kind of give you the floor. Is there anything that you would like to bring up that you haven't had a chance to yet?
Well, we're launching TruPlay next year. And so right now, I just encourage, if there are people out there interested, please go to our website at TruPlay Games. You can enter your email address to find out updates. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Discord. And we're really encouraging people to, get on board and participate. And, you can support what we're doing if you buy an NFT, you can help support the company. You can also, as I said, sign up and follow us on social media and help spread the word, because the world really needs, if you think about this, so when George Lucas started Star Wars in the 70s, I was kind of the beneficiary, and I think you and I are probably similar in age. And what he said was the children of his day, in the 70s, don't have a fairy tale. They don't have something that they can believe in. So I'm going to make a fairy tale. And he did. He did a phenomenal job with the first 3 movies, to me, unquestionably hit it out of the park. And then I look at children today, and I don't see what values we're teaching them as a society that they can hold on to that are healthy connotations of who they are, of what their purpose in life is, of what, socially and mentally healthy ways to deal with things are, or hope or joy or love, the real meaning of love, not just sexual lust. And so those are things, now we're the adults, right? We were the kids in the 70s. Now we're the adults in the room, and the adults, and I know you're passionate about families and safety, well, if we're the adults in the room, then we bear that responsibility. And so our view at TruPlay is we're making world-class, fun, engaging content so that people just get involved and get excited, and every time we test or show things to people, they love it. And so to get them to get involved and hopefully change some people's lives for the better.
Yeah. Outstanding. That sounds like a really worthy project. I do have one other question. When I was looking through the preparatory material, you talked about strangers accessing kids on the internet. And we know that although social media is one conduit, there's a lot of that going on in the chat rooms and the voice chat and online games. And does TruPlay address that and provide some additional security?
Yeah, so as it stands today on our platform, we don't have any kind of live chat because we take that really seriously, and at least with the games that we have today, that's not something that those games have. Now, if that were ever to, something that we needed to do later on, we'd have to figure out how to do it. We would do it in a way that really preserved, safety and trust, because we take at TruPlay very seriously, the trust of, families and children to deliver an experience that I would want my kids to have. If I had never, started TruPlay and had nothing to do with it at all, and I just handed it to my kid, I'd want to maintain the same level of trust as the product producer as I would expect a parent to be as a parent. So.
Yeah, excellent. So yeah, if your children are playing these games, we don't have to worry about that aspect of internet
No,
security.
they don't. We currently don't have that feature at all for the games that we have. They're just it's not necessary.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I know you've got a lot to do today, but before you go, is there any question that you wish I'd asked you?
I think you nailed it. I mean, I appreciate your interest in this, and again, would just encourage anyone interested in what we talked about at TruPlay to, again, go to our website, follow us on social media, share it with your friends. We're launching in 2023, and we're really excited about the opportunity to provide some positive content that families can trust, and appreciate your interest here today, Jason.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Brent. And thank you everybody for watching. Keep an eye on that. We'll put some links in the bottom where you can get to the preview page. And if you'll have time when the lunch comes, we'll have you back on for a quick chat to let folks know how it's going and where they can actually go forward.
Love to do it again. Absolutely.
Outstanding. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jason. I really appreciate it.